The United States political system relies on divided power, and crucially, it requires massive amounts of campaign finance. When the general public is indifferent, a small, committed group of donors can pull policy toward their goals. Politicians need money to survive elections. By offering cash and votes for policy alignment, organized minorities force lawmakers to cater to their demands. We usually see this exact mechanism used to skew domestic policy, favoring industries like agriculture or pharmaceuticals. However, one specific coalition applied this exact domestic playbook to capture American foreign policy. A system built for local democratic representation can be legally steered to serve the interests of another nation entirely. Which brings us to the most effective political machine in Washington, the Israel Lobby. The United States sends Israel roughly $3 billion in direct assistance every single year. Washington also guarantees access to top-tier military technology, like F-16 jets, even though Israel is already a wealthy, industrialized state, with a per capita income on par with Spain or South Korea. The 9/11 Commission noted that Osama bin Laden explicitly sought to punish the United States for its Middle East policies. By unconditionally backing Israel, the United States alienates Arab populations and provides a potent, highly effective recruiting tool for extremists, and ultimately damages its own national security. Israel possesses the strongest conventional military force in the Middle East, along with the region's only nuclear arsenal. The persistent idea of Israel as a vulnerable underdog, completely reliant on U.S. protection, ignores the reality on the ground. The force driving this dynamic operates in plain sight. It is a loose, highly effective coalition of American Jews, Christian evangelicals, and neoconservative policymakers, actively playing the American political game. The unparalleled level of American backing defies traditional strategic logic and moral imperatives. It exists entirely because of a textbook execution of domestic interest group politics. At the center of congressional influence sits the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC. Operating as a de facto agent for foreign interests, Fortune magazine routinely ranks them among the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington, rivaling the AARP. AIPAC's power comes from a simple mechanism. They organize massive campaign contributions from a wide network of pro-Israel political action committees to heavily reward loyalist politicians. If a lawmaker displays hesitation or criticizes Israeli policy, AIPAC aggressively directs campaign contributions to their political challengers. They make an example out of dissenting politicians, effectively ending careers to discourage anyone else from questioning the agenda. Presidential candidates rely heavily on key voting blocs in swing states and large donors. Because of this reliance, aspiring policymakers face a strict litmus test. To get a high-level foreign policy appointment in the executive branch, you must be an overt supporter of Israel. With millions of dollars in campaign funding on the line and key swing state voters watching, open debate about Israeli policy vanishes from Capitol Hill. One of the 3 branches of the U.S. government completely abandons objective oversight to protect another country. To maintain this level of political leverage, the coalition strictly controls public perception. A candid, open discussion might cause American voters to realize the sheer scale of support being provided and demand a change. Pro-Israel organizations established a commanding presence in major Washington think tanks to shape the narrative. They also heavily monitor university campuses, funding specific groups to coordinate advocacy and keep critical academics in check. When someone does manage to break through and publicly criticize U.S. policy or point out the lobby's influence, the coalition deploys its most effective tool, weaponizing the charge of anti-Semitism against their critics. Because the accusation is loathsome and socially toxic, responsible people simply stay quiet. By stifling skepticism with blacklists and organized boycotts, the political machine ensures it operates in the dark, entirely unchallenged by the American public. That manufactured silence in Washington translates directly into global diplomatic cover. Since 1982, the United States has vetoed over 30 United Nations Security Council resolutions critical of Israel, more than all other council members combined. Shielded from international consequences, Israel continues to actively colonize the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The United States becomes the de facto enabler of this expansion, entirely complicit in the repression of the Palestinians. In 2003, a small band of neoconservatives and major lobby organizations successfully pushed the United States to invade Iraq, aiming to eliminate one of Israel's primary regional adversaries through forced regime change. That aggressive posturing continues today. The coalition consistently pushes Washington toward hardline confrontation with countries like Iran and Syria, making it nearly impossible for the U.S. to enlist their help against local insurgencies. The lobby's tight grip on Washington prevents the United States from acting as an honest broker to forge actual peace agreements. The system works flawlessly for the lobbyists, but it destabilizes the Middle East and severely compromises American democratic deliberation.